You need to identify what those impacts are early, put in mitigation to the extent that you can, and then be very open and honest and transparent with the community about what those impacts are and work with them to mitigate those impacts during construction, because that's the time that the project has the most impact on the community.
You want to make sure that whatever designs you put forward have honest environmental outcomes that you can clearly articulate so you can make a justifiable decision.
One of the solutions, environmentally acceptable, was that we put in a tunnel through Boyle Heights. That's the response to the project being too narrow for the light rail to pass through a very narrow street.
We've seen very narrow streets with a train going down the road, a bus going down the road, and cars behind. And that's just been phenomenal, because I think that's one of the concerns that residents have in Baltimore. How are cars going to be impacted? How are the homeowners going to be impacted? We saw trains going down the road with houses very tightly tucked on either side. So, I mean, that's just phenomenal to me that it can actually work.
We like the way that the lines actually went in the middle, you know, instead of on the side. And that gave more space for the rails cars to run, you know, and gave other cars on the left and the right chance to go down. That was good.
We think that'll bring the foot traffic that would justify the businesses and the storefronts to want to come into the main streets. And we're pretty excited about that. We think that'll help out a lot.
In the past, it was, as we were planning for issues of transit, it was kind of transit first. And so the fears around safety made a lot of sense. But now it's an understanding of a prioritization. So it's pedestrian, transit, automobile. And so if you are planning your transit system with that kind of three-tiered prioritization, then it becomes less of a fear that a pedestrian will be hurt or harmed.
People over time have become accustomed to the light rail, because Los Angeles has had a system since 1990. And now, you know, 18 years later, I think people are now starting to realize that it's just like a streetcar, and you just don't get in front of it. But I think that the children are also starting to grow up with the idea that this is now an opportunity and should become part of their world as a green solution to traffic.
And I'm really trying to get the younger ones to understand this is going to be during your time. So you need to put your input and see what it is you want out of it. Because my dreams is not the same as yours.
We know there's going to be a lot of challenges as we move forward with the Red Line project, but I'm committed as the city's Red Line coordinator to do my very best to make sure that the citizens of Baltimore get what they deserve.
I think the community compact signed by the mayor and the MTA and various community organizations in 2008, way before a shovel hits the ground, really, I think, sets the stage for continuing that collaboration. And that is revolutionary. It is very different. Revolutionary for Baltimore, but it's a lesson that we learned from some of those other cities, and we think it's a lesson that's going to help us move from a GED to a PhD.
There's 4 different sections. One is putting Baltimore to work on the Red Line. The citizens of Baltimore. So one of the things we want to look at is what type of training, trades and skills, contract capacity is needed for final design and, you know, necessary for construction. The second is dealing with making the Red Line green. And this looks at more of environmental air quality, also increasing green space. We want to make sure we leverage those water quality improvements and make sure we look at managing better practices for stormwater management. And this is very critical to the community as well. And the third section is looking at community-centered, transit-oriented design. That piece is very critical, where the community, when we talk about station design, and one of the things we say is we want the community to have input in the station design, so the stations should look and feel like their community. And then the last section is dealing with how do we aggressively manage construction and mitigate. So they're looking at different ways how we could make the construction more as smooth as possible. Understand there's going to be some problems and some issues, but we want to make sure that we can aggressively look at them in advance.
I see in 2020 2030, that people from various social economic standings, from various races, are sitting next to each other on the red line. They're on their way to work together, that they're on their way to the Baltimore Symphony or the Hippodrome, that they're going downtown to the arena, that they're going to Columbia Town Center using transit instead of having to drive their car. That people, particularly low-income people, whether they're in Harford County or Howard County or Baltimore City, have more opportunity and have more access to opportunity because they are not forced to try to figure out how to pay for a car that they can't afford. I see by 2020, by 2030, a more robust region, a more economically stable and strong region, a region that is attracting many more people from the creative class, that a lot of empty nesters and retirees start to say, well, doggone it, you know what, I could live in the Baltimore region.
I hope it brings where you can easily get from one area of the city to the other in a timely manner where you don't have to get out there so early in the morning and be waiting so long for the buses and then they don't show up on the time that it's supposed to. Plus it'll help with the development for people to be able to get jobs, help with training. And plus it'll help with the communities because like I said, it'll help bring revitalization to a lot of the communities.
There are exciting times in Baltimore for those that want to reach out and take a chance and try something different.
So it can work. Our downtowns can come back to life and they can be vibrant.
West Baltimore is now expanding and it's going to play an integral part of the city of Baltimore, and I think that we will benefit some of the economic developments from the Red Line in terms of the growth. We hope in terms of employment. We hope in terms of some housing.
Just about anything is possible if you actually think about it and you put some effort in behind thinking about solving the problems that may come up along the process.
It's something in there for everyone, but you just have to come and find out what it is that you like about it.
We cannot do it individually, we have to do it collectively. And we have to learn how to begin to live with one another to accomplish the task at hand. It's a great task, it's going to be a great benefit, it's going to be a great, awesome opportunity for people to overcome the differences that allow them to stay separated. It's time to grow up.